Lube, a trusty friend. Or more specifically, a triathlete's trusty friend, because without it, all those bike miles that we ride on our bikes can play havoc with our drive chain. Now, believe it or not, there are a number of different options available to us for lubricating our chains, whether we're in search of better gear shifting, or we're looking to increase the lifespan of our chain and bike components, or indeed just to get more efficiency out of our bike ride. Then by properly lubing our chains, we can see some significant gains. So today, I'm going to talk through what bike lube we should use and when.
Most manufacturers tend to bracket their lubes into one of two categories, those being wet and dry lubes. Now, as a basic rule of thumb, you'd be forgiven for thinking that those would be for the particular type of conditions you're talking about, i.e. dry in a nice summer weather and wet for the miserable winter weather. And for the most part, you would be correct. However, there is a differential between these two categories of lube. Now, the dry element refers to the lubricating substance of the lube, and that works effectively the magic on your chain when you're riding, and is for the most part a waxy type of deposit. Now, these dry lubes are applied as a liquid onto your chain before taking, well, up to a few hours to dry. So do bear this in mind before heading out on your ride. The positive of dry lube is that it won't attract too much dirt or dust and debris when you're out riding, so it's perfect for those dry summer days. The downside, however, is that it will need reapplied fairly regularly, especially if you've been riding in a wet day or if you've been out there in the saddle for a really long ride and it just gets dry and squeaky, and nobody really likes to have that dry, squeaky chain on a bike ride.
Wet lube was the original lubricant of choice. In fact, way back when, most brands used something that effectively resembled more like a car engine oil. Its consistency was way better than basic spray lubricants that largely were designed to displace water. It, simply put, was more durable and long-lasting. And that quality remains with modern wet lubes to this day, in that they're still applied as a wet lube onto the chain, but unlike dry lubes that we've talked about, they remain in that form on the chain. And the consistency is a bit thicker, meaning that it sticks to the chain, which actually means that they're rather perfect for wet conditions because they have a increased resistance to rain and they're just that much harder to wash away when they are on the chain. Now, the associated downside of these wet lubes is that they do attract that much more grime and dirt onto the chain. So we do need to clean the chain a little bit more often than we would with dry lube counterparts.
Now, if performance is what perhaps interests you a little more, then you might want to consider using a ceramic or wax-based lubricant for your chain. Now, these sit somewhere between the dry and wet versions of lubes, but as with both of those versions, they are applied to the chain in a liquid form, but they do tend to dry a little more tacky. These performance lubes will help to reduce the friction and resistance between your chain and the other moving components in your drive chain, and therefore they're just going to help give you that little bit of improved performance that you're seeking. However, it is worth pointing out that they are a little bit more expensive, but as a trade-off to that, they don't need to be applied quite as often.
Using something like a Teflon or a silicone-based spray like this one is a really good idea just to keep things moving nice and smoothly and also quietly too. I'm talking specifically about parts where the chain might meet the chain rings at the front or the cassette at the rear, and it's also a really good idea to scan over the bike and find any other areas where you could drop a little bit of this too, like say the springs and the derailleurs, the jockey wheels as well on our derailleurs too, and also stuff like brake and gear cables if of course you're not using electronics.
Now, regardless of whatever lube you decide to use, it's always going to work better when it's applied onto a nice and clean chain. So it's really worthwhile thinking about giving the whole drive chain a nice rub down with rag or a towel or something like that to just clean it all after each ride. And definitely think about trying to do a really deep, good clean with soap and hot water after, say, a long Sunday ride that you do with your friends or the club.
Well, hopefully this video has helped you with any future decisions you're maybe going to make about a lube choice or the ride conditions that you're maybe expecting to experience on that ride. Also, if you've got any other suggestions on how to lube your bike appropriately, then please let us know in the comments below. We'd love to get those. Also, hopefully you've enjoyed the video, so please hit the like button. Also, click on the globe and subscribe to get all our other videos. Now, if you want to see a video that I did about what is a triathlon bike, you can find that here. And another video that Mark and I did about how to pack your bike can be found here.